Bristol Motor Speedway used to pack in 160,000 screaming fans. This weekend, the place resembled a ghost town, and now everybody is asking the exact same question. Is one of NASCAR's most celebrated tracks genuinely in trouble? Let us rewind for just a moment. This past weekend was absolutely wild. Ty Gibbs captured his first Cup race at Bristol in dramatic and memorable fashion. But while everyone was celebrating that victory, something else was drawing considerable attention. Those empty grandstands. And it ignited an enormous debate about the direction NASCAR is actually heading. Here is what makes this genuinely strange. At the exact same moment, Bristol appeared deserted. 3 separate racing events elsewhere were completely sold out. All 3 were packed wall to wall, and that contrast is precisely what has everybody scratching their heads right now. First, Nashville Fairgrounds was stuffed to capacity for a Cars Tour race. Why? Because Dale Jr. showed up to compete. The venue was completely mobbed. Bob Sargent, a veteran promoter, actually told Kenny Wallace he had never witnessed it that crowded in his entire career. His exact words were, "Yes, it was shoulder to shoulder." Second, down in Bradenton, Florida, Cletus McFarland hosted a massive event at his Freedom Factory. The sign out front was flashing sold out continuously. Over 100,000 people watched everything unfold live online as well. And third, over in Charlotte, Kenny Schrader competed in something called the IROC Heritage Invitational that was equally packed to capacity. Prominent names like Bill Elliott, Mark Martin, Bobby Labonte, Kurt Busch, Jeff Gordon, and Ryan Newman all arrived to race these legendary machines from the 90s. Schrader even wheeled his own original IROC car from 1995. Same engine, same brakes, same shocks, everything completely original. He described it as play racing and said it was an absolute blast. The event was staged at the brand new 10/10 track constructed by Rick Hendrick and Marcus Smith directly across from Charlotte Motor Speedway. Schrader said the facility was stunning, somewhat resembling an American interpretation of the famous Goodwood Festival in England. Drivers were changing together in a compact hauler, swapping old stories exactly like the golden days of the sport. So, now the enormous question. If these smaller throwback gatherings are selling out completely, why is Bristol, one of NASCAR's crown jewel venues, sitting visibly empty? Kenny Wallace laid out his perspective pretty directly. He said, "It's definitely a better look to have a small restaurant packed. We can't get in here to eat because there's 30 people in here and it's full occupancy. That dynamic generates genuine buzz, a line stretching out the door, people feeling urgency to get inside before the opportunity disappears." But Kenny Schrader pushed back firmly against the notion that fans are desperately craving old-school NASCAR. He said, "I don't see a dying, burning desire there for old NASCAR." He highlighted that Nashville sold out because of Dale Jr. specifically, not because of any nostalgic pull. And Cletus McFarland's entire brand revolves around entertainment and genuine excitement rather than vintage racing memories. Now let us examine Bristol's actual attendance figures. Schrader estimated the crowd sat somewhere around 20 to 25% of full capacity. Sounds genuinely concerning, right? But here's where the conversation becomes truly interesting. Even at roughly a quarter capacity, Bristol still contained considerably more people in the grandstands than a completely sold-out Nashville event. Nashville holds approximately 12,000 fans total. Bristol is enormously larger by comparison. So which scenario actually serves sponsors more effectively? A compact track that appears completely full on television, or a massive facility that looks sparse but actually contains more total bodies and seats? Schrader simplified the economics straightforwardly. He explained that securing a major sponsorship at Nashville might run approximately $50,000. At Bristol, you are looking at well beyond $100,000. You genuinely receive what you invest. But then arrives the truly uncomfortable question. Should Bristol surrender one of its race dates entirely? Would eliminating the spring race concentrate everyone's attendance energy toward the night race in August? Schrader remained uncertain, but he did suggest Nashville Fairgrounds likely has no realistic long-term future regardless. There is simply no adequate space for trucks, haulers, or even basic parking infrastructure. Additionally, a brand new soccer stadium was constructed immediately next door. In his assessment, the development eliminated any realistic possibility of landing an O'Reilly race or Cup event at Nashville Fairgrounds. He noted that a beautiful Nashville Superspeedway already exists just 40 miles away, with abundant room for everything a modern racing event requires. Now shifting to the actual race itself. Ty Gibbs finally broke through and claimed victory at Bristol. And the timing carried extraordinary significance. His organization sits squarely in the middle of a contentious legal battle. Chris Gabehart made several critical comments about Ty in official court documents. So for Ty to deliver a win directly in the middle of all that surrounding drama, well, as Bill Elliott always wisely observes, timing and circumstances define everything. Schrader held tremendous respect for how Ty navigated the entire situation. He said he stayed committed to his approach and running his program, and he executed a great job throughout. Late in the race, everything became genuinely complicated. A yellow flag emerged. Ryan Blaney took 4 fresh tires. Kyle Larson accepted just 2. Every scenario appeared configured for Ty to surrender the lead and the victory. But he held firm and delivered. Ty has been remarkably consistent throughout this entire stretch as well. He has landed inside the top 5 in 5 of his last 6 races. The 6th race he crossed the line, 6th at Darlington. That translates to a top 6 result in every single race for over a full month of competition. He is not currently leading the championship standings solely because of 2 damaging crashes earlier this year at Daytona and Atlanta. Claire B. Lang conducted a genuinely touching interview with Ty's mother immediately following the victory celebration. She has endured so much throughout this journey. She lost her husband. She sat through painful courtroom sessions during the NASCAR lawsuit proceedings. And now she stood watching her son claim a Bristol victory. She shared that this season has felt uniquely special because the organization has operated under such relentless pressure, and that pressure has ultimately drawn everyone considerably closer. Together as a unit, the finish itself was genuinely beautiful racing. Ryan Blaney crossing 2nd with Kyle Larson, completing the podium in 3rd. You had the Blaney family racing tradition competing directly against the Gibbs family legacy. Clean competition throughout, no questionable tactics involved, simply outstanding racing at its finest. The fan poll results were genuinely revealing, however. 2 hours following the race conclusion, 65% of fans described it as a strong race. The remaining 35% disagreed. Kenny Wallace believes the negative votes originated primarily from Chase Elliott. Supporters given that Chase suffered an early incident and struggled visibly throughout the entire afternoon. Speaking of difficult afternoons, the Hendrick Motorsports organization endured a genuinely rough collective day. Alex Bowman returned from injury and found himself collected in a crash almost immediately. Chase Elliott and William Byron both struggled to find any consistent pace throughout the event. Byron's crew chief completely missed the setup target according to multiple observers. The broadcast team even called it out directly on air. Only Kyle Larson managed to produce anything resembling a respectable result among all 4 Hendrick entries. The support races surrounding the Cup event at Bristol delivered their own memorable drama. The truck race came down to the absolute final moments. Christopher Bell held off Caden Honeycutt for the victory, but controversy emerged because Honeycutt's own teammate refused to clear a path when the situation demanded it. Schroeder explained how he consistently handled similar situations throughout his own career. When you recognize something is inevitable, you clear out and avoid compromising either competitor unnecessarily. The Christopher Bell truck victory carried deep emotional weight. He was competing for Stuart Friesen's organization after Friesen suffered serious injuries in a recent crash. When Bell delivered the win, Friesen embraced him with an enormous bear hug trackside. Bell came remarkably close to tears during his trackside live interview, discussing how profoundly meaningful it felt to deliver that victory for an organization going through such a difficult period. Then the Xfinity race contributed additional final lap drama to an already memorable weekend. Kyle Larson dominated the early portions convincingly. Brent Cruz was charging hard along the bottom groove, but Larson got loose unexpectedly. Cruz contacted the wall, and Connor Zilisch swept through to claim the victory. All 3 Bristol racing events this weekend came down to the absolute final lap of competition. One theme shines brilliantly through everything that unfolded across this entire weekend. Just how genuinely demanding the Cup Series truly is. Ty Gibbs required years of development before finally capturing his first Cup victory. Connor Zilisch is already drawing criticism for not yet converting in Cup competition. Kenny Wallace delivered a genuinely sharp observation about comparing series winners to established legends. He said, "I hear a lot of people talking. Richard Pettyboy, that wall separating the O'Reilly Auto Parts series from the Cup series. It is extraordinarily tall,